right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Sandra Bargman, an actor, speaker, ordained interfaith minister, and host of the Edge of Everyday podcast. For more than 35 years, Sandra has worked at the intersection of performance, storytelling, spirituality, and personal transformation, helping people find their authentic voice and navigate major life transitions with courage and presence. Through her coaching, speaking, and creative work, she helps people move beyond fear, reconnect with themselves, and communicate with greater honesty and impact. Sandra, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hello, Joy. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and hello to your listeners.
All right. So yes, it's a pleasure to have you actually. So I want you to take us back, right, to your early years. So what was life like for you growing up and what kind of environment shaped you early on?
There's a lot of directions I can go with that, Joy. Well, I had a marvelous childhood. I had a mother who really supported me. I had a pretty difficult father in many ways, but his difficulties helped shape who I was to become. So let me share with you that I popped out of the womb singing and dancing and acting and
Wow.
performing. And I quite literally was doing shows in my backyard at 3 and 4 and singing with my mother at the piano. I did my first play at the age of 6. So that was very important to me. But also, I was the quiet kid that was in the corner of the room with the antenna, reading the energy of the room, the energy that I was able to see, the picking up on all things spirit filled. So out of the gate, I had a very intense understanding of my creative life combined with my spiritual aspirations, my curiosities, my inquiries. Because performing was really uplifted in my family. My mom, I think both my parents had talent. I think my mom probably lived a little vicariously through me, my journey. That was really supported. And throughout my entire young life, we lived in places that had really great musical and acting support systems. So, I went to schools where I was playing the violin in orchestras, like good orchestras, and I was singing in choirs, and I was in the plays and with really good mentors and teachers. So it was really a good thing. I because acting was so and performing was so uplifted in my family, and I think probably my spiritual capabilities were maybe a little scary, maybe, I don't know, off-putting perhaps for my parents. I did the acting track first. And then, I went to conservatory for it. I went to a very good school for theater and music, and then moved to New York City. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and then moved to New York City and, began my career. And that was going on. And then I, at the same time, was always very inquisitive about all things spiritual and really connecting with the side of myself that wanted to be in service to people, to people's journeys, to people's inquiries about their own spiritual journeys. And so in my early 40s, I started to look into life coaching, which was just new on the scene back then. And it didn't quite fulfill me, but I was looking at a website of a coach, a life coach, who also had in her bio the words interfaith minister, and this light bulb went off for me. And within a couple of weeks, I was enrolled in an interfaith seminary in New York City, the new seminary for interfaith studies, which is now not in New York, it's in Baltimore, but at the time it was in New York City. And thus began my seminary journey, which was 2 years, and I was ordained in New York City. And then I did a second seminary journey for advanced certification in spiritual counseling, all at the same time. I'm still acting, so. And then I have this track of stepping out of the proverbial spiritual closet with trying to lead with the concepts that I understood. So while I was in seminary, I reconnected to the ancient roots of theater and spirituality being one and the same. And I started my own company called Sacred Stages that really reflected that, this understanding, this ancient understanding that the actors were, think of times in Greece, way back when they were on stage in Greece, where they were believed to be these people who were bringing down, they were channeling the gods and the goddesses and bringing back nuggets of wisdom from across the veil, which I loved. I just loved that. So anyway, I started my own company, Sacred Stages, that combined my acting with my ministry. And then I did a one-woman show called The Edge of Every Day. And that was doing very well. And then COVID hit, and I turned it into a podcast, all using all of the same spiritual concepts. And during COVID, I also combined I decided to hang a bigger shingle about teaching people about voice and presence and storytelling. It was something that I could do via Zoom, which is what we were looking for when we were locked away in our homes during COVID. So that's how I came to these teaching aspects, but I still act, I still do weddings. I still speak to people about all things spiritual. I spiritual counsel, and I also teach people about voice, presence, and storytelling.
Hmm. Wow. All right, Sandra. So basically, since when you were small, like when you were much more younger, you've always been ambitious. You've always been
Yes,
goal-oriented. And
I think
also,
so.
yes, from your story, one could tell that you've always been goal-oriented and also spiritually connected, right? So you
Yeah.
mentioned, right, yeah, that one is very important. So, you
Mm,
mentioned that you've spoken a lot about authenticity and finding your voice, right?
mm.
So was there a point in your, let's say, younger years where you realized you had been shrinking parts of yourself?
Oof.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and I alluded to that in my opening. I had a mom who really supported me and a father who I think was really afraid of my communication style. And
Hmm.
it's not that he was cruel. I just think he was afraid of it. And I was really good at communication. And there was just a thumb on me out of the gate. And there was a lot of mocking of me by my dad. I just think that he didn't know how to deal with it. And so, I was already introverted. I know people are like, you introverted? I'm an extroverted introvert. Um, but I held that in, and I think I felt a sense of release, of really being at home on stage and able to really share who I was through these characters on stage. I think I struggled with sharing my own voice in a big way in any kind of group. I was probably pretty good at it one-on-one, but not probably, I was good at it. But I didn't step out into really sharing my voice in a big way until I realized when I was in seminary. I have a great story around this. I was in my second year of seminary, and our first year we're learning, it's interfaith seminary. So we're learning about all of the interfaith, we're learning about all of the religions, all the traditions, the ones that we know of, earth-based ones, ones that are off the charts, all kinds. It was so fascinating. Our second year, we're learning about ceremony and ritual and working with people. So at the end of close to the end of the second year, we have to put all the students, second year students have to put together a sermon, a 20-minute sermon. And so all of us are in study groups. And I live in New York City. And so we had this New York City study group. And, there were 8 of us. And so we're in class, and the dean steps forward and asks who wants to go first to give their sermon. And I, of course, am somebody who would put my hand up immediately. And I just told myself, no, don't do that. Keep your hand down, let someone else go first. And lo and behold, somebody that was in my study group who was so shy put up her hand.
Mm.
And she went up to the front of the room. She stepped behind that microphone. She opened her script and looked out at us and gave this unbelievable 20-minute sermon. We were laughing, we were crying. It was incredible. This so shy woman, there she was. She wasn't being loud or, bigger, louder, faster, as we think of with people who can command a room. She was being herself fully. It was extraordinary. And at the end, we all jumped up and we gave her a standing ovation and rushed forward and hugged her. And I congratulated her, and she pulled back from me and she goes, "Oh, coming from you, Sandra, that's a big fat compliment. And because you're so comfortable in front of so many people." And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I get to hide behind a script. I hide behind a costume. I am not sharing my own voice. And it was right then and there that I got that it was time for me to stop hiding behind a character and a costume and start sharing my own voice in a bigger way. And what did that mean? And that to be comfortable to play a role in front of a lot of people is one thing. To be comfortable sharing your own words, speaking from your own heart, it's another thing. And yeah, it was that was a big turning point for me, Joy.
Hearing your voice. Wow. Okay. All right. So one can say you're sharing your voice now through, podcasting, coaching, ministry, and acting, right? Right. So yes,
I
and
would agree with that.
I would agree too. So, there's this word I saw in your bio. It's called wisdom presence, right? That is what I'm more particular about. So what is wisdom presence, and how can someone develop that in everyday life?
Well, wisdom presence for me, when I think about what I've created in my methodology, I bring all of the skills of the actor, voice work, breath work, voice and speaking work, just the mechanics of good speaking, like with your vocal cords and your mouth and your breath work, all of that. But also I work with presence and how to tell a good story. Now, the other thing that I bring to this methodology is everything that I bring to spiritual counseling and sitting in that kind of a relationship where you are deeply listening and you have emotional intelligence and you have spiritual intelligence. And that's what I mean by wisdom presence, where you are resting on in your communication, you are resting on your self-awareness. You are resting on being secure and confident in your own story. So you're not speaking from a place of self-defense, or you're not looking to react to something. You're looking to listen deeply, take a moment, and then to respond authentically. That's what I call wisdom presence. You're not looking to perform presence or jump on questions and, give your like snappy answer. You're looking to be with whomever you're in relationship with. If it's one-on-one, if it's in front of a board of directors or a group of people that you work with, your team, or if it's in front of an audience and you're giving a great talk. How do I stay present in this relationship authentically? That's wisdom presence.
Wow. All right. So basically, it's about resting in your authenticity, right?
Yeah, and resting in your own story, and
Mm,
and resting in your confidence in how you might show up vulnerably, and not being afraid of that. And we throw the word authentic and authenticity around a lot, but there's a naturalness and a confidence when you can just, like, yourself so well. You've done your self-awareness work, you've done the internal work. That's wisdom presence. You've done that internal work, and you can show up that way. You don't have to feel like you need to perform. You can just be
mm,
you. You can just be you.
mm. Wow. All right. What's funny is that in today's world, everybody feel that constant need, that pressure to, perform,
Oh,
specifically online, right?
yeah,
So,
totally.
I mean, it's something that is just common, especially among young adults, with the old invention of social media and everything. So, for us to rest in our wisdom presence, how can we, begin to stay connected to authenticity?
Mhm. Do you mean I'm taking that in terms of how young people can think about that? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah,
Well, I
definitely.
think what young people need to understand is they have a fresh outlook
Mm,
on things. So, how can they stay connected to a fresh outlook without being condescending to an older perspective? To find the way to, people, they're standing on the shoulders of the wisdom of the people who have come before them,
mm,
so they can hold that in the work that they do, in the way that they communicate. But they also have their own fresh perspective and youthful understanding of where we are in the times in which we find ourselves. So how can they find that way of of sharing that in a way that excites both young perspectives as well as older perspectives, that make people, that light people up, of all,
mm,
of all ages? How can they bring that perspective, that youthful understanding of where we are, in a
mm,
way that respects what's come before, but builds on it in a way that gets people excited, including people my own age?
mm. Wow. All right. So yes, Sandra, I would say personally, I'm learning a lot, right? These are,
Oh, good. Good.
Right.
We like this, because we old people need young people. Come on. It's not like,
Hmm.
yes, we have experience, we have
Exactly.
wisdom, we've been around the block, but we're not the future. The
Hmm.
young people are. So there
Exactly.
has to be a melding of these two perspectives that really uplift.
Hmm. Right. Wow. Okay. So yes, personally, I think conversations like this are really important, especially
Mm,
for, those who are seeking clarity, because there are people out there that they do not necessarily know what to do. They have so much greatness, but they don't even
mhm.
know how to explore, like you said, that wisdom, that wisdom presence, right? They do not know how to navigate it and use it to their full potential. Right. So these are the importance of communication like this. So one could listen and learn.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm learning a whole lot that I think I'm going to adopt in my daily life. So, I could become a better version of myself, right?
Oh,
Mm.
glorious, Joy. That's glorious. And listen, that's all at any age. That's
Mm.
all we can ask to keep doing. How do I stay present to my self-awareness work? Where am I? Where is life showing me a mirror where I
Mm.
need to pay attention? Where in my relationships are things not working that's putting a mirror in my face where I have to go, you know what am I thinking about that? Let me go in there. Let me think about how I feel about this. I mean, life is just a journey of self-awareness. I mean, quite literally, I think that's just me. That's my perspective. It's self-assessment. It's a constant. And even for us old farts, it's a constant.
Right.
You must, in the times that you find yourself in, you've got to stay open to learning more about yourself. Where do I get triggered? What makes me angry? What do I need to pay attention to? What am I good at? Where do I need to learn? How do I celebrate my strengths and let go of feeling as though I need to change something that doesn't need to be focused upon. All of those wonderful things that you continue to uh, gain perspective on as you age.
Mm. Right. Exactly. I like that you mentioned any age, right? Because truly learning is lifelong, basically.
Truly, for
Exactly.
real.
Yes, exactly. So it's not just for people in their 20s. I think it's everyone, right? As a
Yeah,
human, you should be gearing towards learning something new, right? That is
yeah.
part of life, basically.
All leaders are life
Exactly.
learners, Joy. All
Hmm.
leaders are lifelong
Exactly.
learners.
Exactly. Exactly. So yes, thank you, Sandra. I really do appreciate this conversation. And finally, I just want you to, tell us, right? If you could sit down with your younger self in her 20s, what do you think you tell her?
Oh, stop caring what other people think about you.
Hmm.
Stop trying to please everyone
Hmm.
because there's no such thing. Start thinking about how to please yourself. And I don't mean that in a snippy, sort of sassy way. I mean that in a profound way. Start being centered on what you know to be true and
Hmm.
have faith in that. And don't let some older person make you feel uncomfortable with that. So
Hmm.
much of my early life, I was so devoted to people pleasing, making people feel comfortable. Like it's so baked into being a female in society. Just making everyone comfortable. And don't do that.
Hmm.
Have confidence in yourself and don't allow people's bad opinions of you to take you off your path. Have faith in yourself.
Mm. Have faith in yourself. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. This
Mm.
has been such an amazing, really thoughtful conversation, I would say. Yes, thanks for sharing your story, your insights, and so many life lessons with us, basically. And yes, this brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. So,
All right, I'm
all
ready.
right, you could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. So, what is one lesson your 20s taught you the hard way?
Um, 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 uh, that had a lesson in my 20s that had weight. Oh, I think I just said it. Believe in yourself.
Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
All right, believe in yourself. And I would say no to people pleasing. You mentioned
Yes,
that too.
yes. Big
Right.
fat no to people pleasing.
All right. So yeah, what is a book, quote, or philosophy that shaped your life?
What you said, a what philosophy?
A book, a quote, or a
Oh, oh,
philosophy.
oh, a quote or philosophy. Um, quote or philosophy that this too shall pass. I'm not a
Hmm.
big Bible person, but you have to. I was raised Presbyterian, but I am not a part of any kind of organized religion. But something that really stuck with me was that this too shall pass. And I
Hmm.
mean, the good stuff and the bad stuff. The bad stuff will pass, then you get into a good circle. And that too shall pass because something challenging will happen again. And it is that cycle that is life. No matter who you are, there's no getting away from this too shall pass.
These two shall pass. Right. Okay. Personally, that's a
Mhm.
mantra I live by. Right. Whatever I'm going through, I just tell myself this too shall pass. Because I remember I've been through so much before, right? And it passed. It's in the past now. So this too shall pass.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Right.
No, but I think people think of this too shall pass when things are rough, but they
Hmm.
don't think about it when things are going really great. Because life is
Hmm.
not about that. Life is about learning.
Right. Wow.
And life is about finding the happiness and the goodness, whether
Hmm.
times are good or times are difficult.
Right. Hmm. Wow.
It's
Okay.
about growth.
Right, that's a new one. That's a new perspective I'm open to now. And yes, finally, what does using your voice truly mean to you?
Using your voice means sharing your story in a vulnerable and truthful way. It
Hmm.
means uplifting others so that they feel confident in sharing their voice as well.
Hmm. Uplifting others. Right. Okay. So yes, thank you, Sandra. This has been
Mm.
an amazing one, like I said. And before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
So my personal website is sandrabargman.com. That's BARGMAN.com. You can go to magicthreadmedia.com and you can set up a 20-minute phone call about how to work with me if you're interested in working on voice, presence, and storytelling. My podcast you can also find at Magic Thread Media, but you can listen to it on all of your favorite podcast platforms. I have a YouTube channel, Sandra Bargman, on the edge of every day. I am on all the platforms of social media. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Blue Sky and LinkedIn and all X and all the places. So,
Hmm.
I'm kind of everywhere.
All right. So yes, thank you, Sandra. I'm gonna put your link in the show notes so it's
Great.
easily accessible for listeners. And yes, to my listeners, I would say thanks for tuning into Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new and amazing episodes. Once again, thank you, Sandra, and do have a beautiful day ahead of you.
Oh, thank you. And the same to you.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.